Boy, do I have a good video for you today. This is a fan favorite pattern and I am here to show you how to make it. I'm Marley Bird, your by Crafty Bestie. Let's go.
Show me love, show me love. This is all we got. Show me love.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Marley Bird YouTube channel. In this video, I will demonstrate how to make the Garden Party Crochet Cardigan. This cardigan is perfect whether you need to put it on over a sundress or maybe partner it with a tank top and some cargo pants. It looks good with everything. The great news is this pattern has been upsized. It's been given a glow up. We have updated the pattern. We have remade it in a brand new yarn. We have sized it up so it's even more size inclusive. We've included stitch diagrams and charts. It is amazing how much this pattern includes. It's 23 pages of loveliness, and it's all available for you. Here's the great news. I am taking the pattern that is all written out, just the written pattern, and I'm offering it for free over at the Marley Bird website. So if you go to that link right down there in the video description box below, click that link. It will take you to not only where the free pattern is, but where you could possibly purchase this awesome ad-free PDF. Remember, when you get the ad-free PDF, not only do you get an exceptional crocheting experience that is uninterrupted, but you get to support your very own by Crafty Bestie. All right, everybody. Besides the pattern, you're going to make sure that you grab some materials. Here in this video, we're just going to work up some swatches so that you know how to do the stitch pattern for the body of the cardigan and the stitch pattern for the edging. So if you want to grab just some scrap yarn and a hook so that you can play around with it, that is a good idea. Once you have those materials and that pattern, join me back here and we will get started with this lovely Garden Party Crochet Cardigan. The Garden Party Crochet Cardigan has been revamped or supersized or upsized or glowed up, whatever you want to say. And if you'll look here in the ad-free PDF, you'll see it has all of the information that you need for this pattern. Not only the written instructions, but it has schematics, it has charts, stitch diagrams, more written instructions, and then something that we did include is there is a chart for each size, so that way you can easily see exactly how many shells there are in each part of the pattern, and so it takes all of the guesswork out. This pattern has now been sized up to a 5XL. So if you always loved this pattern but couldn't make it because it only went up to a 3X, you are now in luck. You can grab this pattern with all of those extras and you are sure to have a spectacular finished project. One of the biggest changes to the Garden Party sweater is obviously the yarn. In the original sweater, we used a lovely cotton and cashmere yarn called Roslyn. This stuff was a dream to work with, but sadly it is no longer available. So when I decided to remake the cardigan, I wanted to choose one of my favorite yarns from We Crochet or Knit Picks. And this, my friends, is Galileo. This is a sport weight yarn. I don't know if the camera does this justice. This is like a really rich, deep, teal blue color. It's just absolutely gorgeous. This is called Gem, and the yarn itself is a wool and bamboo yarn, so it has this lovely warmth with some really great drape. So the wool itself helps hold that bamboo in place so it doesn't overstretch, but as you are wearing your piece, you can see you get some really great drape with the fabric itself. And because of the bamboo and the way it really absorbs the colors, you can see you get some really rich and saturated colors here that are available to you. Now I just grabbed some of these here. This one is called Orion right here, and this is called Aquarius, and either one of these would make a stunning cardigan. Okay, now when you're choosing yarn for your cardigan, it's important you choose one that does give you a lot of drape, like a silk or a bamboo or a rayon. Those are going to get some nice shine and have some nice flow in the fabric itself. I like to partner that up with a wool, but I absolutely understand if you need to use a cotton or an acrylic yarn, those could work just as well. Just make sure you're finding a yarn that you like the finished drape of your fabric and you're going to get the correct gauge. Those are the important factors when it comes to choosing your yarn. Now, for me, I did choose the Galileo. I loved working with it. And I can tell you from experience of putting this on, it feels so good as you wear it. And you can see you get a really great shine and lovely flexibility to it. Okay, so let's go ahead and grab that stitch pattern for the body of our cardigan. We're going to grab our yarn and a hook and learn how to work up that stitch pattern so that way you can get started on your own cardigan. I can feel the excitement you guys have getting ready to do this stitch pattern. Let's go. Okay, this shell lace is the stitch pattern that's used for the entirety of this cardigan. Okay, so this shell lace is what we are going to follow along with. You'll notice that it even says in the PDF on page 9, there's also a crochet stitch diagram for you to follow along with if you need it. But we're going to start off with a multiple of 8 chains plus 2. Obviously, if you're following along with the actual cardigan, you want to follow along with the stitch count that pertains to the size you are making, but this is just a little swatch that we're doing here in this video, okay? All right, so I am going to use the Galileo Sportway in Aquarius for the instructions because it is unanimous that this one is the easiest one to see on film. You can pull the yarn from the outside or the inside. It's totally up to you. I'm going to go from the outside just for ease today. And I don't know if you guys can see this. I have a yarn turner. We're going to put this on here and we're going to see if that will help us. We'll see. We'll see if it helps us. All right. Okay. So we're going to do a multiple of 8 chains plus 2. So we start off with our slip knot, which I'm assuming you know how to do, but I'll show you just in case. Put the tail of the yarn in the palm of your hand. Take your working yarn, wrap it around your forefinger and your middle finger. And when you come back up, cross over. Rotate your hand over, and then you're going to go underneath that front loop, grab the back loop, and then take your fingers out, and you have yourself a nice little slip knot. Okay? Put that on your hook and give it a tug. When we make these chains, we do not want to make them too tight, so make sure you keep them the size of your hook. So you will yarn over your hook and then pull that yarn over through the loop on your hook. Do not give any extra pull. Yarn over, pull through. Yarn over, pull through. Yarn over, pull through. I usually get about 4 stitches in, and then you'll see I'll take my thumb and I have this nice, the V's right there of the chains. I put the pad of my thumb on those V's just to keep it hold everything in place and to keep it steady. So that was 4. Here's 5, 6, 7, 8. So that was 1 repeat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That was 2 repeats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that was 3 repeats plus 2. So we'll go 1 and 2. All right. So 8 times 3 is 24, 25, 26. I have 26. And I follow along. I'm going to single crochet in the second chain from my hook. Never, ever, ever count the loop on your hook. So we'll skip the first one, go to the second one, insert our hook right into the chain. It doesn't matter where you do it. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through 2. Now remember, we are using this yarn and it's a little bit slippery because it has that bamboo content. So you want to make sure you're really controlling your stitches here. Once you've done that, you will go ahead and we will chain 1. So chain 1, skip 3 chains. So skip 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to do 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet into the next one. And that is our shell. So we skip 1, 2, 3. Here's our 4th one. Yarn over our hook, go into that chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over, draw through 2. So that's 1. We need 3 of those. Go into the same chain. There's 2. Same chain. There's 3. Now we chain 2. And we do 3 more, still in the same chain. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, that is our shell for this pattern. Okay, now we chain 1, skip 3 foundation chain, and single crochet in the next. So when you're doing this, be careful, because when we put all of those stitches into that one chain there, it wants to eat up the space in the chain next to it, so it can easily disappear. Okay, so make sure you're counting that when you do your skip 3. So skip 1, 2, 3. In the next one, we put a single crochet. You see that? And now we're going to come up and we repeat from star. So the star is where we chain 1, skip 3, 1, 2, 3. In the 4th one, we're going to do our shell. So we do 3 doubles. 1, 2, and 3. Chain 2. And then 3 doubles again, all into that same chain. And take your time. As you're setting this up right now, you want to make sure you are not rushing this. You're getting used to the yarn and the hook and the stitch pattern all at once. So take your time. Better yet, I really hope you guys are doing just a gauge swatch like I am here, so you can get used to everything just like me. All right, so we did our shell, chain 1, skip 3, 1, 2, 3. Into that 4th one, do a single, and then we repeat from star. So you keep repeating from star just like this all the way to the end. Okay, so I'm going to keep going. I have 1 more repeat. Remember, I did 3 of my repeats, so I skip 1, 2, 3. I'm going to do a shell here. There's 1. There's 2. And there's 3. Chain 2. And then do 3 again. Now, I've had somebody once ask me, Marley, why is it that when you do your double crochets, you move your thumb right underneath the hook? And they're just like, I can't see the double crochet getting made. Well, 1, you shouldn't have to see the double crochet getting made, right? As you know how this works through. But you try this. Put your thumb right underneath your hook right after you pull up your loop, and you're able to keep control of the size of those loops as you're making them. And you're going to notice that all of your stitches are going to be more consistent in size when you do that. Okay. So right here, I just finished my shell. So I chain 1, skip 3, and in the very last stitch here, I have my single crochet. So that there, y'all, that is row 1, which is a right side of my stitch pattern. So now let's go ahead and we're going to do row 2. And this is a change from the original pattern to now, because in the original pattern, I had not discovered stacked double crochets yet. So of course, if I have to start with a double crochet, I'm going to do a stacked double crochet instead of chains. So let's do this. All right, so on the second row, we're going to start with a stacked double crochet. So I go into that stitch that I ended with, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through 2, and then I'm going to go right in the middle of that single crochet I just completed and stick my hook in there, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through 2. So it's like I have 2 single crochets there, one on top of the other, and they create a double crochet. So that's a stacked double. Now I want to do a double crochet into the first single crochet. So right here, this is the first one. So we did a stacked double. Now we're doing a double. Okay. Now I have to chain 2. And we're going to do a single crochet, chain 3, single crochet, all into that chain 2 space. So we're going to do a single, chain 3, and a single, all into that chain 2 space. Then we chain 2, and you'll notice this is where your star is. This is your repeat. Now we do a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet into this single crochet right down there. So we're going to come down here into the single that we did down here. We will do a double crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet. Chain 2. And then we're going to build our stitch up here at the top of our shell. So we do a single, chain 3, and a single. Okay. Chain 2. We're back here to where the single is down there. So we're going to do a double, chain 1, and a double, chain 2. We're back up here to the top of our shell. So we're going to do a single, chain 3, and a single, chain 2. We're to the last single crochet down here, right? The very first one we did. So we have to have this symmetrical. So we're going to end with 2 double crochets down here. So we do 1 double crochet and a second double crochet, just like we started with the stacked double and then a double. It's the same idea. There we are. Looking good so far. Looking good so far. This is where y'all turn your work and you'll do row 3. Get some more yarn here. Turn my work. Doing row 3, we have a stacked double crochet again. You're going to get really familiar with these. Go into that first stitch. Okay, so it's the last one you created. Yarn over, pull up a loop. Yarn over, draw through 2. And you'll see it looks like it has 2 legs, like there's a leg there and a leg there. You're going to take your hook and literally just pierce it right between those legs. I've seen some people who mention that you should just go into like that leg right there. I don't like the way that looks. That's why I do them this way. And they look really good this way. Okay. So we did our stack double. We chain 1. We're going to do 3 double crochets in the first double crochet. So this is the first one we just did. So we're going to do 3 double crochets into that same stitch. So there's 1, 2, and 3. Chain 1. Skip 2 spaces. So skip the chain 2 space right here. Single crochet in the next chain 3 space. So right here, I'm going to do a single crochet in the next chain 3 space. Chain 1, and then I have a star. This is going to be my repeat. Skip the chain 2 space. Into this space here, we're going to do 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. We're going to do our shell. So we're going to do 3 doubles. So there's 1, 2, 3, chain 2, and then 3 more. See, not too hard. If you can do single crochets and chains and doubles, you can do this. You're just going to learn a few extra things like the stacked double and then learning how to read a pattern, where to put the stitches. Like, you got this. It just takes a little bit of patience. and then we chain 1, skip the chain 2, do a single into that chain 3 there, chain 1, skip the chain 2, we're over here to where this space is right there. We're going to do our shell again. I'm going to go a little faster this time because I'm guessing you know how the shell works up. Chain 2. And then we're going to do our 3 doubles. Chain 1, single right here. And then here at the end, you're going to chain 1, right? And then we're going to do right down here, we're going to do 3 double crochets, chain 1, 1 double crochet in the very last stitch. So it's in the top of this stacked double crochet. You're going to go into it. You do 3 doubles. So there's 1, 2, 3, chain 1, and then do a double. You see that? Look how pretty that is. I mean, it's pretty even before it gets blocked. Like, that is just gorgeous. That is so gorgeous. Ah, I just love it so much. All right, this is just a quick reminder that we're only working on this for 5 rows, and then you go back and you repeat. So it's a very easy pattern that you're going to memorize, and you're nearly there. So let's move on to row 4. So with row 4, we turn our work and we start off with a chain 1 this time. Now we're going to half double crochet into that first double. So I yarn over my hook, go into the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. So I have 3 loops on my hook, yarn over and draw through all 3 loops of my hook. So that's my half double crochet. Chain 1. Then I'm going to single crochet in the first chain 1 space. Remember, that's right here. So I'm going to single crochet into the first chain 1 space. Chain 2. Now I'll do a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet into this single crochet right here. I'm going to do double, chain 1, and a double, chain 2. We're over here. This is our shell again, right? So we're going to do a single, chain 3, and a single, chain 2. You see how this is going? So it's very similar to the row 2 we did, only we've shifted, right? We've shifted our stitches. So we had to start differently and we're going to end differently than we did on row 2. But the body itself is the same. You chain 2, go to the top of the next shell, do the single, chain 3, single, chain 2, go to the single crochet down here, do your double, chain 1 and double, do all this all the way to the end, and in the last single crochet, all right, so right here to the last single crochet, so we went to the last single crochet, and now we're going to chain 2, which I will do right now. I thought I had done it. Chain 2, and we are going to single crochet, chain 1, and then half double crochet in the last stacked double crochet. So I'm down here in the last stacked double. I go in, I do a single, chain 1, and then a half double all into that last stitch. Okay, one more row, and then all you have to do is repeat rows 2 through 5. So row 5, turn your work, chain 1, single crochet in that first half double. So we got our first half double crochet right here. Got to find it. Right here, we're going to do a single crochet. If you happen to be getting lost at all where your single crochets or the first or last stitch of your row is, You can use stitch markers if you want. Like I'll put that there just so you can see. You can put that stitch marker there. Then you're going to chain 1, skip the first chain 1 space, which is right here. And you're going to skip the chain 2 space right here. And you're going to do a shell all the way over here. Okay? So we're going to do our shell all the way over here. What you'll notice is this is similar to the very first row we did, only this time we have actual stitches we're working into, not just chains. I'm doing my shell, which is the 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet. And clearly, if you are working on your cardigan, you're going to have way more repeats than I have on here, but you can see how this works. Chain 1, skip the next chain 2 space. You're over here, right? We're over here. We're going to do a single crochet. Chain 1. Over here, we'll do our shell again. 1, 2, and 3. Man, working with this color really makes me want to have another cardigan in this color. I feel like I should make another one in this color because this is super pretty. 2 and 3. Chain 1, single crochet in that chain 3 space. Chain 1, do our shell. And those of you who missed it at the start, we are working with the color Aquarius. So it is beautiful. I'll be sure to link that in the blog post with the pattern, so that way you could get this yarn if you would like. 2 and 3. Chain 1, come all the way down here, and I'm going to end with a single crochet, single crochet into the, repeat from start of the last chain 2, skip the last chain 2 and chain 1 space, single crochet in the last half double. Making sure I'm reading the directions precisely so that I don't misspeak. But look at that. Look how pretty that is. So then you would repeat rows 2 through 5 for the entire stitch pattern. But this stitch pattern itself, you use this for the entire body of the piece. So you start off on the back, you work all the way up to where it's time to increase for the arms. Then you work all the way up over the arms and over the arms this way, all the while you're making an opening for your neck. And then you can transition on all the way down to the front. And once all of that is done, you are going to be like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. It's at that point that you will want to block your piece. To the edging, let's talk a little bit more about blocking to the schematic measurements and what does that actually mean. Looking down here at the schematic, you can see this is a visual representation of what your finished cardigan looks like before it's seamed. You started off your cardigan right down here at the very bottom, and then you worked up in this direction. You cast on, or you chained an extra amount of chains so that way you could get wider for some sleeves. Then you worked a little bit further. Then you eliminated stitches right here for your neck opening, right? You're like, okay, because I got to fit my neck somewhere. And you continued on a little bit further. And we're still keeping all these stitches in play, right? And then it's like, okay, well, I want to make sure that this sweater fits a little bit more. So I'm going to now work some increases here and here on the front of my sweater. So that way it kind of shapes in a little bit and I get a little bit more bust coverage. Okay. You work that. Then you're like, okay, well, I have to now eliminate the stitches that I added over here for my sleeves, because my sleeves don't go all the way down to my armhole or to my bottom of my cardigan, right? So you eliminate those, which leaves you with just this amount to work with, right? You're working just the fronts with this little bit. You're like, great, this is fast. This is amazing. Once all of this is done, that's when you have to wash and block it. Now, when I say wash and block, I literally mean put it in a sink, put it in a basin of water. And I will let you know with the Galileo, the color bleeds a little bit because of the bamboo, but it won't ruin anything. You should be good. I just want to give you a heads up so you're not like, oh my gosh, all the color is running out. It does run a little bit in the water. But if you use a little wool wash and let it sit, let it kind of just soak and relax a little bit. Drain it, rinse it, pat it dry. Like I like to roll it up in a towel, like a burrito. So just get a dark colored towel so that way no color transfer happens. And then you're going to pin out your garment. So as it's wet, you're going to lay it out on a blocking board or on a towel or something, and you're going to measure it out to the numbers listed here for the size you're making. So for example, you'll make sure that the bottom of your garment measures, let's see, what did I say? I would make the 3X. So if I was making the 3X, I'd make sure it measured 28 inches. And then I'd make sure that from the bottom of the garment to the armhole, I make sure that it's 16 inches. And I'd make sure that my sleeves here, I'd make sure that they were stretched out and they measured 22 inches. I'd make sure that my neckline was no larger than 8 inches. Does this all make sense? Okay. As you do this, the lace itself on your piece is going to open up and become broader, and it's going to look absolutely beautiful. And because of the merino in this yarn, it's really going to hold that shape and look lovely, okay? Once that's all blocked, you want to make sure that you let it dry, and do not, absolutely do not put it in front of a sunny window or outside under the sun, because that could change the color of your yarn. Don't ever do that. Let it just sit in a nice, cool, dry place. You could put a fan on it and let the fan help dry it, but do not put it in the sun. Once it's completely dry, you'll unpin it, and it's at that point you will just seam it together, and you can whip stitch it together really easily, and then you will move on to the edging. I just wanted to make that a little bit more clear because I'm afraid that too many of you are going to skip that step, and I want you to understand how important it is. When you move on to the edging and I work the edging onto our swatch, which is not blocked, you're going to see the importance of making sure that your actual finished piece is blocked. So listen, let's just be real frank here for a minute together, right? You spent a good amount of money on the yarn. You spent a good amount of money on the pattern. You spent a good amount of time working on this piece. So give it the due diligence that it needs to wash and block it and do these finishing steps so that way you can get that chef's kiss of a cardigan. You can do that, right? You can promise me, Pinky promise me you're going to do that? Awesome. I think we're good. All right, let's move on to the edging. Now that we have mastered that stitch for the body of our cardigan, let's take a closer look at the edging. Looking down here, you can see that the final part of our edging gives us this really lovely scallop edge, but that is not the edge that's right up against the body of our cardigan. If you look down here, this is the bottom edge of my cardigan, and if I pull this up, you can see that there is a series of essentially sort of like filet crochet right down here. And then we go into some really cool just double crochet two togethers to create this really great texture, which then leads into the cool scallops. So if this looks a little bit intimidating, just trust in the fact that you've done all of these stitches with the exception of the double crochet two together. But that's what I'm here for. I'm going to show you how to do all of that. So first things first, I want to remind you once again that you need to make sure that you have blocked your actual cardigan before you move on to the edging. It's important that you have the cardigan all blocked out before you move on to those edging stitches. Then we're going to continue on with the edging, making sure that the stitches do not bunch up or creep in on each other. You want to make sure that the edging is nice and flat and laid out so that way the edge of the cardigan doesn't hike up. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and use my little swatch here that we worked on together for my edging, and I'm already breaking rule number 1. I'm going to add the edging onto this without it being blocked because I don't want to wait for it to dry before I do the next step of the video. The instructions for the front edge are written in that blog post. This is what it looks like on the actual PDF, so you can follow along with the written instructions, or there is a full chart that you could follow along with as well, okay? When you're working on your cardigan, you're going to start off by placing stitch markers. So you're going to grab like some removable stitch markers, just like so. And you're going to place them about every 2.5 inches all along your neck opening. So imagine this is the front of your cardigan. So this is a front, this is a front, and you're going to have stitch markers placed all the way up and around the front of your cardigan. This is the only part that has this edging, okay? Just the front part. And by putting a marker about every 2.5 inches, that is roughly about how wide the edging is on the sample. It's about 2.5 inches. Now, I say that with the understanding that some of you might have had to change your hook size, or maybe your gauge is just a little bit off. If you want to change the 2.5 inches at all, I would err on the side of going a little bit less than 2.5 inches, not anything more, okay? Because it's better to have maybe one more scallop edge than too few. As you are working on your cardigan, make sure you use the same color yarn that you used for the body. I'm using a different color so you can see the edging stitches I'm working up. I have the bottom right front facing me, and I have the right side of the fabric facing me. I want to make sure that I am all the way over to the edge of the bottom of my front, right? Because this is the edge stitch. So I put my hook in, and I'm going to join with a slip knot. So take your yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, and draw through that loop on your hook. So we have joined with a slip knot. Now I want to go ahead, and remember I said you're going to do 11 single crochets all the way over to your marker, and then 12 single crochets there on out. Okay, so just going to go right along the edge and stay consistent with whatever you do. Like if you go into maybe a side of a stitch, that's one of the beauties of working with those stack stitches or having the double crochets at the edge, is you can literally just work right into the edge stitch and it looks nice and clean. You just want things to look consistent and look nice and neat. As you go along, you can pause and count how many stitches you've done. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, which is perfect because I'm right up to where my marker is. So I can put my 11th one right there. Now, what I like to do is I take my marker out at that point and I actually put it into the top of the stitch I just finished. So that lets me know that that stitch that I have marked right there, that's the 11th stitch of my set, right? So if I go on to this next part and I don't get all 12, maybe I get too many or too few, I have a point in the fabric that I can rip back to and know, oh, when I get back to where this marker is, that's going to give me 11. Does that make sense? Okay. So I can keep going here. I need to have 12, remember? I'm going to just pop into that one. All right, so there is 12. And for the edging on your cardigan, you would just continue on with 12 more then to the next part. So you would put a marker right there, okay? Follow that all the way around to the left front of your cardigan, and then you'd move on to the next row. So I'm going to continue on with the instructions here as if we were just continuing on, right? So we would get to the end of our work and turn, and then you can chain 3. So 1, 2, 3. We're going to skip those chains, skip 2 of our single crochets. In our third one, we will do a half double. So yarn over your hook. So skip, skip, third one, go in, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3. So I did a half double. Chain 2, skip 2, half double in the next. Okay. This is setting up my filet. Now, here's what's cool. We do this filet for 3 rows, right? And if you find, you know what, I just want a little extra, a little bit more of my edging than what I see here, and you have enough yarn to to do it, you could always do more than just the 3 rows here. Let's see, 1, 2. You could do more than the 3 rows of the filet. You could do 4, you could do 5, you could do whatever you think works the best for your piece. That's the beauty of crocheting or knitting your own samples, guys, is you can make it fit you. I don't need that marker anymore. That's why I removed it. So I'm just going to continue on here. Skip, skip, do my half double, chain 2, skip, skip, half double. And if for some reason you're working along here and say you've miscounted somewhere, or maybe you accidentally skipped a stitch, or you have too many stitches, or whatever it is, as long as you get to the end, right? At the end here, I chain 1, skip 1, and I half double. But say that you needed like more or something, you could always skip 2 there. You could chain 1, you could chain 2. Like there's places to fudge, and you could absolutely fudge your work. Now I want you to see something here. Let me change the focus so you can see this. You can see even right here, it's wanting to pull in. Can you see how it's wanting to pull in? And part of that is because these chains here are a little bit snug. So once you're done with your whole edging, you will want to go and block your edging. But this is a really prime example of, you want to make sure that as you're working these fillets, you are not making these chains so tight that it's starting to cup in. If it starts to cup in on itself, it's way too tight. Now, I think I can adjust this on my next row, so I'm going to give it a try. It's at that point I will make a decision if I would need to rip out or not. But this is a good reason, or a good example of what you don't want to see. You don't want to see it start to cup in. Okay, let me get this in focus again for us. There we go. All right, so I'm at the end of the row, and we start off the same way we did the last one. We will chain 3, turn. And this time I'm going to half double on top of my half doubles. So I would skip my chain, go to my half double, and go right into my half double. As you come up to the end of your row, you finish with your chain 1, and then you'll do your half double down here into the second chain. Okay, so you're going to do your half double into the second chain of the chain 3 that you did. And it's at that point you can take a look at your work again, be like, oh, is it starting to cup in? And I don't think mine is anymore. It looks pretty good. So that's something you definitely want to take a look at. All right, so let's do it one more time. This is our 3rd row. So chain 3 and turn, or turn and chain 3, do whatever works for you. Do your half doubles on top of your half doubles, and then chain 2 and do it again. So I mentioned that you could always do more filet rows, but if you wanted to change the half double to a double crochet, you could do that also if you wanted. Can you see here that it still looks like it kind of wants to cup in? It wants to cup in on itself, right? And I haven't blocked this yet. Now, if I blocked this and I did the blocking after I did this, you see how bad that would be? So you want to block it and then add this in, because I could probably get a whole nother repeat on here after this is blocked. You guys see what I mean here? You could even go up a hook size for your edging if you want, if that makes it a little bit easier for the fillet portion before you get to the scallops. Do whatever works for you. Okay, we're getting ready to move on to row 5, and this is where we introduce a brand new stitch. And remember, this only has 7 rows total, so we're nearly done to the finish. Let's move on to row 5. Row 5 has us begin with a stacked double crochet, so I will turn my work and put a stacked double crochet directly into that first stitch there. Get that in there. And then we will chain 1 and double crochet 2 together over the first 2 spaces. So what we're going to do is we're going to yarn over our hook, go into this first space right here, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through 2, and pause. Yarn over our hook, go to the next space, yarn over our hook, pull up a loop, yarn over our hook, draw through 2, and pause. So we have 3 loops on our hook, yarn over, draw through all 3 loops on our hook. Okay, you guys see that? Now we chain 2. Again, make sure these chains are not tight, okay? We do it again. Yarn over our hook. You go into the same chain 2 space that you went into last time. Go into the same one. Yarn over, pull up a loop. Yarn over, draw through 2, and pause. Yarn over your hook. Go into the next chain 2 space. Yarn over your hook, pull up a loop. Yarn over your hook, draw through 2, and pause. You have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, draw through all 3 loops. Chain 2. And we repeat. Going into the same one here that we finished with, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through 2. Yarn over our hook, go into the next chain 2, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through 2. 3 loops on our hook, yarn over, draw through all 3, chain 2, and keep going. We get some yarn here. How we doing? Feel good? Should be looking pretty good so far. I mean, this looks really cool. I love the way this looks. All right, so let's do it again. We always start where we finished. We do the partial double right there. Yarn over, do a partial double into the next one. So we get to 3 loops on our hook. Yarn over, draw through all 3. Chain 2, make sure they're nice and loose, and do it again. And you do this all the way to the other side. At the very end, you do your double crochet 2 together, chain 1, and you end with a double crochet into that second chain. Can you see that? You see how that last row is not pulling in at all, and it looks really great? Right? It looks really cool. Do you also see that if I had done more rows here, it would have given me just a little bit more length without taking away from the beauty of what I've got going on? So it's really customizable. All right, so we're moving on to row 6. Row 6 has us begin with the chain 3 and turn, or turn and chain 3, it doesn't matter. We single crochet in the very first chain 1 space. Okay, we're going to single crochet in the very first chain 1 space. Get some yarn here. And then we chain 2. Make sure those chain 2s are not tight. Then we single crochet in the next chain 2 space. Now you're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Single crochet in the next chain 2 space. See that? Chain 2. Chain 2 in the next chain 2 space. I'm not chain 2. Single crochet in the next chain 2 space. Chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Single crochet in the next chain 2 space. Chain 2. Single crochet in the next chain 2 space. Chain 5, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Single crochet in the next chain 2 space. Chain 2. Single crochet in the chain 1. This is if you're at the other end, right? Then we chain 1 and then a half double right here in the top of this stacked double crochet right here. So we did our half double. That, my friends, right there, that's row 6. We will move on to row 7 here, and this is where we bring it on home. We are going to be working into big spaces to create those big scallop edges, and this is where we do want to make sure everything looks nice and clean before you call it quits and cut your yarn, okay? Because if anything looks off, you definitely want to start over and make this look pretty pristine. All right, here we go with round 7. We begin with the chain 1 and turn, or turn and chain 1, it doesn't matter. We will single crochet into the top of the very first half double crochet. Okay. Now into this chain 5 space here, we're going to do 11 double crochets. 11. All right. All into the space. So we do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All right, so we did 11. Now we come over here to the next chain 5 space. We do 2 singles. So we do 1, 2, chain 3, and then do 2 more singles. 1 and 2, all into that same space. Now we come over here to this big chain 5 space again, and we do 11 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My yarn's creeping up on me. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. We finish with a single crochet over here. And that, my friends, is our edging. I'm going to cut this. Give it a pull. And you can see it looks nice and neat. It's not pulling in, right? It's not pulling in. Maybe down there it looks like it's just a little bit, so I might have to give that just a little bit of a block, but it's not pulling in so much that it's going to make my cardigan pull up on me. And it's at this point I would go ahead and I would grab a sharp chenille needle and I would weave in any tails that I have remaining, whether on the body or on the edging itself. And the reason I recommend a chenille needle versus just a tapestry needle is because with the chenille needle, you can actually like split through the fibers. And with this yarn being as slick as it is, and oh, I just undid it through that right there. I didn't want to do that. With the yarn as slick as it is, you want to make sure that it's really going to hold the tail in place. So on the inside of your work here, you can just take your chenille needle and just split right down the fibers, like I'm going through the fibers themselves. And I will go several different directions until I get it to where I want it to be perfectly woven in. You can see I'm coming all the way down here to the edge of the piece. And remember that you will be using the same color, so it won't look like any different color at all. I'm going right along where I did those single crochets down here, just kind of popping through the actual fibers. I'm not just going underneath the stitches here, you guys. I'm actually like splitting the fiber itself. That's why you want this really sharp needle. And it's really going to lock that tail into place. Okay. So I did it to that one. I do the same over here. And the link to the chenille needle is in the blog post. So you can absolutely get these, you know, relatively cheap on Amazon or at Michael's or Joann's. Like they're not that expensive at all, but they are super handy when you're trying to weave in things where you don't want the tails to come out. especially with I mean, obviously if you're weaving in things, you don't want the tails to come out, but especially when you're working with yarn that's really slippery, that the tails want to tend to come out. Really locking them into place like this helps a lot. They also work really great with animal fiber, locking that tail in or working any sort of like a Russian join of the yarn. It makes it look really great. So weaving in your tails, you can see there, you have this nice edging. So this edging, just as it is right here, let's see here what it measures. So just right here, from there to the edge, it's about 2.5 inches. Mine is. So you can make it larger, you can make it smaller, but that will help come and really come across the front of your body. And again, I do want to caution you, be very careful with that fillet portion because you could get really tight down there. All right, so you want to make sure that you're keeping those chains nice and loose. If you wanted to, you could even kind of change it up and do like a chain 2 and then a chain 3 and then a chain 2 and then a chain 3, just to kind of keep things a little bit loose. As long as you're consistent, it's going to look great. But hope that is helpful for all of you choosing the right side for your garden party sweater. And now go out there, grab this pattern. You can get the ad-free PDF or follow along with the free pattern on my website. And then of course, there's always a video tutorial. I'm Marley Bird, your By Crafty Bestie. I'll see you again soon.